The towel slipped from my hands, but I didn't flinch. Her laugh, a dry, hollow chuckle that bounced off the laundry room tiles, hung in the air, like mildew. "You're lucky I even let you touch me." That's what Vanessa said, like I was some leper who'd won a raffle. Like decades of providing, fixing, covering her mistakes, and paying off her credit card messes were just some pathetic tribute she tolerated out of politeness. She turned, humming, tossing her blouse into the dryer like nothing had happened. I just watched her, not angry, not even sad. Something quieter, sharper. I folded the last t-shirt, that old one from the state fair we went to, before her Pilates instructor with the ridiculous name, before she stopped asking how my day was. I folded it with more care than I'd handled her in months. Then I placed it neatly on the stack and walked out. In the hallway, I heard her phone buzz, a giggle, another message, another little compliment from whoever she thought was her escape hatch. Her voice changed when she texted lately airier, like she was suddenly 20 again. I used to like that sound. Now it just reminded me how good liars always enjoy the setup. I passed the hall mirror and looked at myself, wrinkled. Sure, slower than I was at 40. Absolutely. But I built machines that could carve titanium to half a human hair's width. I ran a team of 20 men who didn't dare miss a measurement. I wasn't some slob hoping for scraps of affection. But in this house, I was a placeholder. And placeholders don't argue. We execute. I went downstairs into the office. That drawer hadn't been opened in a while, not since I'd printed her client meeting calendar from iCloud and noticed one too many Tuesday dinners at the Burst, conveniently, never billed to the brokerage account. Inside the drawer was a small, smooth oak box I carved after retiring. It was supposed to hold cufflinks. Instead, it held clarity. I opened it, empty still. Not for long. I flipped open my laptop. No rush, no drama, just a man doing what he always did, cataloging, protecting, cleaning up someone else's mess. The folder was still there, waiting for the day. She smirked. First up, email printouts. A realtor friend of hers had CC'd her on messages about fun weekends in Ridge Hill. The dates matched exactly with the training retreats she swore were work. One even included a rental car receipt in Vanessa's name, with a second driver added. Not me. Then the texts. I'd synced her phone to the family iPad 6 months ago. She never noticed, thought it was just for Netflix in the guest room. One thread stuck out. "Can't wait to see you outside the sheets for once, lol." His reply, a thumbs up and a bathroom mirror selfie. Shirtless, I recognized the wallpaper. The Burstone again. Betrayal has a scent. By the way, that place always smelled like lavender and stale desperation. And so, with the oak box open on my desk, I started filling it not with jewelry, but with the first pieces of a puzzle she didn't even know I'd been building. Vanessa came downstairs later that night, makeup off, wearing that smug little robe she only broke out when she wanted to play the affectionate wife. "You didn't say goodnight," she said, fake concern dripping like syrup. "I figured you were tired of touching me," I replied, smiling just enough to make her blink. "You're being dramatic." She muttered. I nodded, slow and calm, exactly the way a man does when he's happy to be underestimated. "Men like me don't need second chances," I said. "We need evidence." She laughed it off and went upstairs. She had no idea that while she was drifting into whatever dream world she lived in now, I was down in the office, organizing her downfall. Chronology mattered. I laid out the emails by date, matching them with her so-called work trips, flight stubs, hotel invoices, car rentals. Then the text threads, screenshots carefully labeled, location data attached. The sweet little messages she sent between house showings, including one where she told her contractor boyfriend she was stuck in a board meeting. The timestamp said otherwise. Her words didn't make me angry anymore. They just made the box heavier. That was the point. Encrypted folder, June Justice. Backup copies. One flash drive in the safe. One hidden on a shelf in the garage behind a box of Christmas lights. One cloud account she didn't know existed. Vanessa always thought my slowness was a flaw. She once told her friends, "He moves like he's buffering." They laughed. I smiled. Because slowness isn't weakness. It's precision. By midnight, the oak box was half full. I closed the lid and ran my hand over the smooth grain. It used to be a gift for her. Now, it was a coffin for her little eyes. And the best part, she still thought I was blind. The opportunity came faster than I expected. 2 days later, Vanessa announced, over breakfast, like she was reading the weather, that she'd be out of town for a client showing in Ridge Hill. I didn't even look up from my coffee. "Want me to book your rental car?" I asked. She waved it off. "Already handled." Perfect. That afternoon, I called my buddy Nate, the one who owed me for getting his kid into my old company's apprenticeship program. Nate didn't just run a security firm, he was the security firm. Discreet, loyal, and allergic to questions. I gave him a date, a location, and a name. "I don't need photos of anything physical," I said, "just timestamps, locations, and who she's with." He chuckled. "So, you're building a timeline." "Exactly. I said. I'm making sure her story has more holes than her alibis. That night, while she packed her business casual dresses, the kind that looked allergic to actual business, I synced her phone again. A new message popped up from Deck King 87. Double quotes. Got us the room with the balcony this time. Bring that black dress, I like balcony. Ridge Hill, black dress. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. Friday came, and so did the updates from Nate. She met him at the Burstone at 6:42 p.m., checked into room 403. Dinner at the hotel restaurant. Wine flowing. Back upstairs by 9:15. Lights out by 9:27. Texted me a long day selfie from the lobby at 10:04. Same dress, same smile. Just cropped tighter, no balcony in sight. I replied with a thumbs up. Then I filed the image right where it belonged, in the oak box. Between the car rental receipt and the selfie she took with the same guy 3 weeks earlier. By the time she came home Sunday night, flushed from her successful showing, I already had the full play-by-play. I even knew she stopped at a boutique on the way back and used our joint card to buy herself a silk scarf, probably her little souvenir. She kissed me on the cheek. I kissed her back. And in my head, I marked an X on the calendar. The clock was officially ticking. You learn a lot about someone when you stop reacting and start recording. For weeks, I let Vanessa run her little theater production, complete with her late night calls from the laundry room and weekend trainings. That conveniently lined up with Decking 87's fishing trips. I didn't need to expose her yet. No, what I needed was to make her comfortable. People get sloppy when they think they're winning. The first move was subtle. I started doing what she'd accused me of never doing, forgetting things. Oh, did you tell me you'd be out Thursday? Must have slipped my mind. That scarf new. No, I didn't notice. She'd smirk, thinking I'd finally tuned out for good. She didn't realize I was just taking the spotlight off myself. The second move. Banking goodwill. I started cooking more. Fixing things around the house she'd been nagging about for months. Just trying to keep us steady, I'd say. She'd pat my shoulder like I was some harmless golden retriever and float upstairs to text him from the bedroom. Every time she underestimated me, the oak box in my office got a little heavier, and the third move, my favorite, was planting seeds with the right people. Vanessa's whole social circle revolved around appearances. The book club she never read for. The charity events she attended just to post selfies. Her carefully curated Instagram feed where everything looked perfect except for the parts she didn't want you to see. So I started showing up in those spaces more. At the charity gala, I made a point of chatting with her friend Celeste about how tough Vanessa's travel schedule must be and how grateful I am that she has such supportive colleagues. Harmless on the surface. But I saw the flicker. In Celeste's eyes, people like her live for the day they get to say, "Oh honey, I knew before you did." I didn't want her to tell me anything. I wanted her to tell Vanessa that I seemed so trusting. That's the kind of rumor that makes an arrogant liar feel untouchable. Meanwhile, Nate kept feeding me updates. I had every date, every hotel check-in, every receipt from the restaurants where she swore she was grabbing a quick bite alone. He even managed to get a photo of her and Mr. Deck King himself at the Burstone balcony. Wine glasses in hand, her head tilted toward him in that way she used to do with me before she learned how to spell Pilates. By early spring, the oak box was nearly full, and I had enough to destroy her in every direction, socially, financially, legally. But I didn't want just a win. I wanted the kind of ending she wouldn't see coming until it was already too late to brace for impact. So I built the board. Step 1. Finances. Our accounts were still joint in some places, but I quietly shifted all automatic deposits to my personal account. The household bills were covered, but nothing extra flowed into the pot she had access to. I also had my lawyer set up a holding company in my name, one Vanessa couldn't touch, so that when I moved assets, they'd vanish from her reach without looking like they'd gone far. Step 2. Reputation. I started dropping by her brokerage office under the guise of taking her to lunch. I shook hands, remembered names, asked questions about sales targets. I made sure to do it all while wearing that calm, affable husband mask. Her coworkers, many of whom were already half suspicious about her networking trips, saw me as a grounded, loyal guy. That way, when the truth came out, they'd already picked a side. Step 3. Bait. This part was delicate. I needed her to believe she had the upper hand while also making a choice that would double as a confession. So one evening, I left my laptop open on the dining table screen, glowing with an email draft to a fictional consultant about a job in another city. I made sure she saw it. Sure enough, the next morning, her tone was strangely cheerful. "Big changes ahead?" she asked, pretending she hadn't been reading over my shoulder the night before. "Maybe," I said, shrugging. "Could be good for both of us." That weekend, she told me she was heading to Ridge Hill again. Nate's report came in just after 10 p.m., balcony, wine, and this time a little too much public affection in front of the hotel. Bars, security cameras, exactly what I needed. Step 4. The trigger. I waited until Sunday night, when she was unpacking. She was humming Vanessa, always hummed when she thought she'd gotten away with something. I leaned against the doorway. Hey, I said casually, got an invite for that fundraiser next month, thought you might want to go. She didn't even look up from her suitcase. Which one? The one at the Burstone. Her hands froze, just for a second, but I saw it. That's the thing about liars, they can fake their words, but their muscles still tell the truth. That's nice, she said, zipping the bag too quickly. We'll see if I'm free. I smiled and walked away. In reality, the fundraiser was real, but it wasn't for her. It was for me. My lawyer, Nate, and 2 very helpful acquaintances in the local paper were all on the guest list. And when the day came, so was Mr. Balcony himself, entirely unaware that his photo op with Vanessa would be making its rounds before dessert was even served. But before I pulled that lever, there was one more step, the cruelest one. I invited her parents to dinner. We'd always had a decent relationship, partly because I never told them the truth about their daughter's spending habits, temper, or uncanny ability to burn through relationships like cheap candles over roast chicken and wine. I steered the conversation to how proud I am of Vanessa's hard work and how lucky I feel after all these years. She beamed like she'd won. Then, right before dessert, I mentioned casually that we might be moving. New opportunities, I said, but I'm not sure Vanessa's ready to leave Ridge Hill behind. Her mother frowned. What's in Ridge Hill? And that was the beauty of it. Vanessa's face gave the answer before she could lie. After they left, she hissed at me for trying to stir trouble. I just kissed her on the cheek and told her she looked beautiful when she was nervous. By then, the board was set. All the pieces were in place. The next move wouldn't be loud. It wouldn't even be public, not at first. It would be a whisper, the kind that slips through social circles like smoke and leaves everything smelling like fire. And she'd walk right into it. The best traps aren't sprung in an instant. They close inch by inch. So slowly the prey thinks the walls have always been there. And Vanessa, she was about to get very comfortable inside mine. The morning after her parents' dinner, she was suddenly sweeter. Not apologetic. Vanessa never apologized, but attentive. She made coffee for both of us, asked if I'd slept well, even ironed one of my shirts before work. That's how I knew she was nervous. When Vanessa thought she was winning, she treated me like background noise. When she sensed trouble, she pulled out the domestic wife costume and wore it until she thought the danger had passed. I let her think it was working. Over the next 2 weeks, I kept feeding the illusion. I forgot about Ridge Hill, didn't bring up the Burstone fundraiser, and played the part of the quietly distracted husband. Meanwhile, the oak box was no longer my only archive. I had a mirrored hard drive with everything, tucked into a safe deposit box she didn't know existed. Then came the first whisper. Celeste, the same realtor friend who'd unwittingly sent Vanessa's travel dates my way, was my chosen messenger. I ran into her at the hardware store on purpose, with just enough casual cheer to make it seem like coincidence. Vanessa's been traveling a lot lately, I said, grabbing a box of screws. Hardly see her at home anymore. I hope the market's worth all those miles. Celeste, who loved gossip like bees, loved sugar water, nodded slowly. Oh, it's worth it for some people. But travel wears on a marriage, you know, people get lonely. I gave a light laugh and said, well, she's always had a way of keeping busy. Then I thanked her for the tip on paint finishes and left. I didn't need Celeste to tell me what she'd do next. She'd ask Vanessa about it, half concern, half nosy curiosity. Vanessa would brush it off, but the seed would be planted. The fact that I seemed unconcerned would make Vanessa believe she'd managed to keep me in the dark. Meanwhile, Nate came through again. One of his contacts in hotel security had misplaced a certain balcony photo onto a USB stick. The image was crystal clear: Vanessa leaning into decking 8-7, wine glass raised, the Burstone's name in gold lettering just behind them. No intimacy, no physical contact, but enough for anyone who knew her to put 2 and 2 together. That photo was my queen on the chessboard, and I wasn't moving it yet. Instead, I focused on tightening the financial noose. I met with my lawyer, Martha, in her small office above a strip mall. No fancy glass towers for her. She was the kind of attorney who read every footnote and loved making arrogant people sign things they didn't understand. Everything's ready, she said, sliding the papers across the desk. Once you file, she's going to have a hard time touching anything but her personal checking account, and even that will be under scrutiny if she tries to move large sums. I signed the necessary documents without ceremony. She thought where our assets were now sitting behind a wall of LLCs and trusts. She could claw at the bricks all she wanted. She wouldn't find a crack. The next part required patience. I waited until Vanessa had another Ridge Hill trip planned, her third in 6 weeks. The night before she left, I casually mentioned I might be seeing someone from the Burstone Group about a potential investment. She froze just long enough to confirm what I already knew. The words Burstone Group were a loaded gun for her. Oh, she said lightly. I didn't know you were looking into that. Just exploring options, I replied. I hear they have a lot of big personalities in that circle. Her smile was too tight. Yeah, they do. While she was gone, the game board came alive. Step 1. The fundraiser invite. The Burstone Gala was only 2 weeks away. I confirmed my attendance through an old business contact who also happened to be on the planning committee. I made sure my table was directly across from where I knew Decking 87's company had purchased seats. Step 2. The leak. A discreet email sent from a burner account Nate set up went to a local lifestyle blogger. The attached photo of Vanessa and her balcony companion was framed as spotted, a mystery couple enjoying a weekend at the Burst. Any guesses who they are? The blogger wouldn't run it immediately, they'd let it marinate, ask around, build anticipation. Which meant by the time the gala came, whispers would already be swirling. Step 3. The ally. I called her father. We'd never been close, but he respected me mostly because I kept Vanessa's spending habits from bankrupting her twice. I invited him for lunch, made a point of looking tired, warned I didn't accuse her of anything directly. Instead, I told him I was worried about her priorities and that she seemed distracted lately. Her father had the same allergy to scandal that Vanessa did, which meant he'd call her immediately after lunch and remind her to keep her reputation intact. She'd take it as a warning, not realizing it was also a countdown. The night of the gala arrived, I wore my best charcoal suit. The one Vanessa always said made me look dangerous in a good way. I arrived early, shook hands, chatted about nothing. Vanessa and Decking 87 arrived fashionably later, in a black dress I'd seen mentioned in his messages. Him in a tux that tried too hard. The whispers had already started. I could see it in the way people glanced at them, then looked away. Quickly, someone at her table showed her something on their phone, probably the balcony photo, making its first quiet rounds. Halfway through dinner, our eyes met across the room. She didn't smile. I raised my glass. By dessert, the game was over. The blogger had posted the photo with just enough identifying detail for anyone in the room to recognize the backdrop. My phone buzzed with 3 messages from mutual acquaintances. Is this Vanessa? Okay, man, wow. Vanessa stood abruptly, muttering something to her date, and disappeared toward the exit. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. The oak box was already emptied into 3 separate legal folders waiting on my desk at home. The divorce papers filed that morning would be served within 48 hours. She'd lose access to the accounts. Her parents would have questions. She couldn't answer without admitting everything. And her precious reputation, already bleeding out on the marble floors of the Burstone. When I got home that night, I poured myself a drink and sat at the desk where the oak box had lived. All that was left inside was a single note I'd written that morning. You told me I was lucky you let me touch you. Turns out, I was lucky you let me go. I closed the lid, locked it, and slid it onto the shelf. The game was over. But the aftermath, that was going to be the real fun. I woke up the next day feeling lighter. Not because I was free yet, but because there's a special kind of calm that comes after you've set something in motion that can't be undone. The phone was already buzzing when I opened my eyes. Half the messages were from people I hadn't heard from in years. Some were checking in, pretending to be concerned. Others were fishing for details. And a handful were the kind that start with, "You deserve better." The rest were from Vanessa. 3 missed calls. 6 texts, all variations of, "Call me, we need to talk, you're overreacting. You've ruined everything." That last one was my favorite. The irony of her accusing me of ruining her life after months of betrayal was almost poetic. I didn't reply. Not yet. Silence is a better teacher than shouting. By mid-morning, the first cracks in her social circle were already showing. Celeste called, pretending she just wanted to check in, but clearly dying to know the whole story. I gave her a calm, measured version. Yes, the photo was real. Yes, I'd known for a while. No, I wasn't surprised. That was enough. A story told calmly travels faster than one shouted in anger. People trust composure, they repeat it like gospel. By the time Vanessa tried to spin her own version, she'd be up against a wall of, "Well, that's not what I heard." Around noon, her father showed up at my door. The man looked 10 years older than he had at lunch 2 weeks ago. His voice was tight, his words measured. "She says it's not what it looks like." He started. I didn't bother asking him if he believed her. Instead, I walked him into my office and pulled the 3 folders from the shelf. I opened the first one: emails, hotel receipts. The balcony photo, blown up to 8 by 10. The second, credit card statements, location data from her phone, screenshots of messages. The third, divorce paperwork, already stamped and filed. He didn't touch any of it. He just stared at the evidence like it was a coffin. "I'll talk to her," he said finally. "Don't," I replied. "You don't need to get between us. This is just the truth, catching up." He left without shaking my hand. That was fine. I wasn't in the business of making him feel comfortable. At 2:15, Vanessa showed up. She didn't knock. She never did. She walked in like it was still her house, her hair pulled back, sunglasses hiding what I assumed were puffy eyes. "You've humiliated me," she said before the door even shut. "No," I said, leaning against the kitchen counter. "You humiliated yourself. I just made sure the right people were watching." She tossed her bag on the counter like she used to after a grocery run. Do you have any idea what people are saying? Probably the truth, I said. Her jaw tightened. You didn't have to go this far. We could have handled this privately. That's funny, I said, because you didn't handle anything privately. You turned our marriage into a public joke every time you walked into the Burstone with him. She folded her arms. I could still fight this. The accounts, the house can't. I cut in. Already moved. Already filed. You'll get what the court decides you need, not what you think you're entitled to. Her face went pale. She'd always believed she could bluff me into giving her what she wanted. That bluff had expired when she realized she wasn't getting anywhere with me. She shifted tactics. You're going to regret this, she said, stepping closer. No one will see you as the victim here. You're just vindictive. I actually laughed. Good victims don't win. Vindictive people do. That hit her. She blinked, took a small step back, then grabbed her bag and left without another word. The slam of the door was the closest thing to closure she was going to get from me. The rest of the day played out exactly how I wanted. By evening, the balcony photo had made it to a few closed Facebook groups, mostly local gossip circles, where people dissected every charity gala like it was the Oscars. The comments section was merciless. Some defended her, but most didn't. People love a scandal more than they love nuance, and every new comment was another pin in the social bubble she'd spent years inflating. That night, I went to dinner with Nate. He raised his glass as soon as we sat down. 2, a plan well executed. I clinked mine against his. 2, patience. We didn't need to talk about the details. He'd seen enough in his line of work to know the real satisfaction wasn't in the big revealed, was in the weeks, months, and years of quiet setup. Think she'll try to hit back? He asked. Probably, I said, but she'll be swinging from her heels. She's already off balance. When I got home, I checked my email. There was one message waiting from my lawyer. Subject, service confirmed. Vanessa was served at 5:42 p.m. today. I closed the laptop, poured a drink, and sat by the window. Across the street, the neighbor's porch light flicked on. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. The kind of ordinary, steady background noise you stop noticing when you're wrapped up in someone else's chaos. I let it sink in. This was my life now. Quiet, controlled. No more training trips. No more late-night laundry room phone calls. Just me, my space, and the knowledge that she'd spend the next few months choking on the consequences she never thought she'd have to face. The funny thing, I hadn't even played my last card yet. The oak box still had one thing inside. Not evidence, not paperwork. Just a little USB drive labeled Final. It held something she didn't know existed: audio. A handful of calls between her and Decking 87, captured clean as day. Nothing explicit, but enough to connect every dot in the picture she'd been trying to paint over. I didn't need it in court. I didn't even need it for leverage. But one day, when the dust had settled, I'd decide what to do with it. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. That's the thing about holding the last card. You don't play it because you need to. You play it because you can. When I went to bed that night, I slept without setting an alarm. No need to wake up early for anyone else's drama anymore. Tomorrow would come in its own time, and for the first time in months, I wasn't dreading it. 3 days, that's how long it took for her to go from wounded to war mode. The calls started first: blocked numbers, friends' phones, even her mother's line. When I didn't answer, the texts followed. We can fix this. You don't have to destroy both of us. Think about my career. The Mai in that last one was telling. She wasn't worried about our marriage, just her image. Then came the guilt trip campaign. Celeste showed up accidentally at my gym to tell me Vanessa wasn't eating and just wanted to clear the air. 2 of her coworkers emailed me strangely similar wording, saying maybe this was all a misunderstanding. I replied to none of it. The silence was killing her more effectively than anything I could have said. When someone's used to controlling the conversation, the absence of a response is its own kind of pressure. Week 2, she tried legal muscle. Her new lawyer, a fresh-faced kid who still thought dramatic letters on letterhead. Scared people, sent me a list of demands for an equitable split. Half the house, half my retirement, half the accounts. Bought Martha, my lawyer, didn't even blink. She sent back a 3-sentence reply attaching the prenup Vanessa signed 12 years ago, highlighted in all the right places. The part where infidelity stripped her of any claim to my business assets, bolded. Vanessa's lawyer didn't send another letter. That's when she pivoted to public pity. Social media posts about being blindsided, vague quotes about betrayal, photos of her out to brunch with friends. It might have worked if half those friends weren't already sending me screenshots. The comments were brutal. People asked her point blank about the balcony photo. She deleted more comments than she replied to. I'd planned to just let the court process roll on. But the USB in the oak box kept calling to me. The audio wasn't explicit, but it was damning. Her voice on speaker, telling Decking 87 that he still thinks I'm on a work trip. Poor guy. His laugh, her laughing back. Then her calling me a placeholder until I could trade up. That last phrase was the one that sealed my decision. I didn't leak it to the press. I didn't blast it online. No, I sent it privately to exactly 3 people: her mother, her father, and her broker's managing partner. Within 24 hours, she'd been quietly pulled from 3 property listings and asked to take personal leave. Her mother left me a voicemail I didn't return. Her father sent a single text. I understand now. The final blow came on a Tuesday morning. Court was 3 weeks away, but I wasn't interested in dragging it out. Martha had arranged a meeting at her office neutral ground to finalize the settlement. Vanessa walked in looking thinner, angrier, no smile this time. She sat across from me, arms folded, while Martha slid the paperwork forward. It was all there. She kept her car, some personal savings, and whatever dignity she could salvage. I kept everything else. She flipped through the pages, then looked up at me. Why are you doing this? You could have just left. I leaned back, hands folded, calm as ever. Because you once told me I was lucky you let me touch you. I decided, to return the favor, I'm letting you go. Her pen hovered for a second before she signed. Not because she agreed, because she knew there was nothing left to bargain with. When she left, she didn't look back. The door clicked shut behind her, and just like that, she was gone. I went home, poured a drink, and put the oak box back on the shelf. Empty again, waiting, because life has a way of circling back, and if it ever did, I'd be ready to fill it again.